Chapter 22. As I tried to assimilate into American culture, tensions between my parents and me grew. My parents didn't want me wearing short shorts, which was fine with me. I didn't want my butt hanging out of a tiny pair of shorts. But my friends would come to the house wearing them, and Mom couldn't help but comment. She was good-natured about it. She understood that American culture was different from ours. But still, my friends would come over and she would shake her head. Dad would never say anything, but Mom would say, "Leah, no," and point at her legs. Or she would pull Mackenzie's shirt down over her shorts to try to cover more of her legs. I would say, "Mom, cut it out." I told my friends that my mom said these things out of love. "She might not love your outfit, but she loves you," I said. Luckily, my friends had a sense of humor about it. They came to expect that when they showed up at my house, my mom would tisk their outfits. Sometimes they would dress more modestly, like in a knee-length skirt, and say proudly to my mom, "Look." She would nod approvingly, and they would giggle. One day I tried to wear a little sundress to church. I walked out of the house, smiling and feeling all cute. Dad just gave me this look. I guess I was showing too much leg. He didn't have to say anything. "Fine," I said. "I'm not going." "Good," he said. I stayed home. I wanted to be like my American friends. They went on dates with boys, which my parents did not want me to do. My friends' parents actually drove them on dates and dropped them off at a movie theater or a cafe because the kids weren't old enough to drive. In Africa, we didn't casually date the way teenagers do in America. If a young couple had a relationship in Congo, there was an end goal: marriage. You didn't just date someone for the heck of it. One day, my mom and I talked about dating. She told me, "Your friends in America do this because it's their culture. It doesn't mean you have to do it." She wanted me to stay within our cultural lanes. Ideally, she wanted me to marry someone from our culture one day too. "Mom, I'm going to marry a white man," I prodded her. "And what are you going to do about it?" "Over my dead body," she said. "Sandra, you won't do it. You know you won't. You need to have a traditional wedding." It's not that my mom had anything against white people. She just thought our cultures were too far apart. For one thing, she thought white people had small, subdued weddings, not major celebrations like in our tribe. She got that idea from an American woman my brother Heritage had dated. The woman was white, and she wanted a small wedding at an inn. Their relationship caused a lot of anxiety for my mom, and she and Heritage clashed over it many times. Heritage was the first among her kids to date outside of the culture. He was an adult, and there was nothing my mother could do about it. Still, Mom was always nice to the woman. She tried her best to deal with the situation. I'm sure she was relieved when they broke up. I kept pushing her. "Mom, my best friends are white, and you love them," I said. "Your friends are your friends. You're not marrying them," she said. "I love your friends, but you're not going to spend the rest of your life with them." Still, I didn't argue with my parents too much about dating in high school. I had to pick my battles. I had to talk them into so many things, like going to friends' parties. In Congo, teens did not throw their own parties. We would go to parties held by relatives, not by other kids. Everything I was experiencing in my social life in America was new to Mom and Dad. It all had to be negotiated. My parents and I were growing in different directions. Of course, most teens feel misunderstood, but I considered myself to be genuinely misunderstood because my parents and I were not having the same life experiences. They had not grown up in America. They had not gone to an American high school. They could not guide me. Things that were the norm in the States, like tampons, were new to my mom. Women wore pads back home. When Adele realized I was wearing tampons, she worried that they took your virginity. It's a common belief in different cultures. When I wanted to wear a bikini to the beach, Mom was appalled by the concept. "You're going to show that much skin?" she asked. Eventually, I wore the bikini. We had some major negotiations over a formal dance at school. I tried to convince my parents that I needed an expensive dress, $200, to wear to the event. My siblings were sitting there listening to this request, laughing. In addition to the dress, I would be asking a boy to the dance. I went to a school for girls, so I would have to ask a boy. My parents were taken aback. A dance? A dress? A date? You want to spend that much money on a dress for one night? Mom asked. Would you ever wear it again? If you want to dance, why don't you dance right here? Dad said. We have plenty of space in the living room. Mom thought that was a good idea. Yes, she said. Why don't your friends come here? They could sleep here. Where would they sleep? I asked. In your bed, Dad said. I rolled my eyes. I'd had sleepovers with Leah and Mackenzie, but I would not be hosting a school dance in the living room. My brothers would be messing with us all night. They always got involved with my slumber parties, getting my friends to play African card games, teaching them dance moves, and then laughing at them. It was actually kind of fun, and my friends embraced it. But a dance in the living room? No. My parents agreed to think about it. They didn't want me to be excluded. They had to choose their battles, just like I chose mine. Over the next few days, I tried to get more strategic in my tactics. Instead of saying, Mackenzie's mother lets her go to dances, in which case my mom would say, you are not Mackenzie. I would say, it's normal for kids to go to dances. I would continue. You don't want me to be a social outcast, right? You don't want to look at me sitting here with no social life and no friends until the end of time, right? My mom, ever the comedian, would say, yes, I like looking at you. My siblings found all of this hilarious. Secretly, I'm sure they were cheering me on. I was the one fighting most of the battles, since they were all much older except for Alex, who had his own negotiations to navigate, usually involving staying out late with friends. My parents managed to come to terms with me on the school dance. I went with my friend Michael from my church youth group. His dad drove him over to my house before the dance, and Michael awkwardly handed me my corsage. Mom did buy me a nice dress, blue with a sweetheart neckline. I know how much I pushed my parents. For me to tell my dad, I'm going out with a boy and I won't be back until after midnight, and for my dad to say yes, that's huge. I was taking steps, but they were taking leaps. It was a real diplomacy act. They had their traditions and values, and I was growing up in a different world, a different culture. I had to try not to get too far ahead of them, and they had to try to catch up with me. Even though I didn't fully realize it at the time, my parents were good sports about all of this. And they were smart too. They knew that the tighter parents hold on to their kids, the more the kids want to break away. I wish the resettlement system for refugees could help mentor parents. Not to tell them how to raise their kids, but to help them understand the new culture their children are experiencing. Parents have to learn how to raise their kids in a foreign land. Kids need guidance from their parents, but their parents have no idea what influences their children are facing in their new world. In my experience, the schools never called my parents to discuss me, probably because of the language barrier. My parents were on their own. I also wish the resettlement program offered counseling for refugees. They are survivors of trauma. Moving them from here to there isn't enough. We have to care about the people and help them deal with their past. How can they become a part of a new society when they have never dealt with the terrors of their past? People sometimes say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky." When people say that, I kinda want to punch them in the face. Just because you resettle people doesn't mean their lives are suddenly perfect. I lost my little sister in a massacre, fell into the depths of poverty, and fled my homeland. All that to get to America.